Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammi and Nathan Jaeger.
Hello and welcome to Date Forever. This week we're celebrating our 100th episode.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
100!
Can't believe we made it.
A whole century.
Yeah, nearly 2 years worth. It's amazing.
So welcome and thank you for being here. Those of you who are new listeners, OG listeners, dip in and out listeners, and everybody in between. Thank you so much for being on this journey with us.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's been a pretty epic journey, but yeah, it's been amazing.
Before we get into it, Nathan.
Yes?
What's been fueling you up this week?
Well, on the weekend, I did a bike wheel building course. So, yeah, I was learning how to make bicycle wheels, which sounds a little bit nerdy, and it probably was a little bit nerdy, but I had a really good time, like learning a new skill, doing something that I love, which is tinkering with bicycles anyway. And it's something that I've never had the confidence to be able to tackle, and so it was really nice to be able to like understand what's going on and really learn the process behind wheel building. So, Sammi, what's been fueling you up this week?
I am on day 7 today of my neuro-linguistics programming training. I am doing my practitioner training.
Yeah.
And that's been my whole 7 days.
Yeah.
I've not been in a formal, structured, in-person classroom environment for a really long time, let alone for 7 days in a row.
So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed learning. A lot of the frameworks and ideas and concepts are really familiar to me. I think that's part of having hung out with a lot of coaches, having had a lot of coaches as clients, having seen a lot of coaches, but personally, to understand some of the modalities and frameworks that underpin that has been really amazing, and I'm really proud of myself, and I'll have a shiny certificate to show for it.
That's pretty cool. So we both had a bit of a learning week. It's just of a different style.
Totally different.
Totally different style. Yeah.
So for episode 100, we've decided to do something a little bit special, and it's just going to be me and Nath.
Yeah, something a little bit different to what we would normally do.
So no couple to join us, no expert to join us.
No.
You've got the two of us in your ears. And we have gone through our 100 episodes and picked out 10 lessons or ideas or concepts that have really resonated with us, or things that have shown up again and again and again. Things that we feel are really pivotal to an incredible, healthy, happy, thriving relationship.
Yeah.
So we've got 10 for you.
We do.
Should we get into it?
Why not? Let's jump in. So let's start. Number 1. So goals matter. So funnily enough, the very first episode that we did was about goal setting, but what we've really come to find is that goals as individuals and as a couple really add to a healthy, happy, thriving relationship.
Yeah, what we've come to learn is that happiness doesn't come from an end state. It comes from when you can see that you're making progress. And when a couple doesn't have a shared goal that they're working towards, it's very hard to see that progress. But when there's the presence of a goal, whether or not it's a big thing or a medium thing or a long-term thing, making progress towards that goal can generate a lot of happiness and shared commonality, and that sense of being on the same team and working towards something together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that it's definitely made a big difference within our own relationship, and us now having our annual game plan day that we do every year to really help us refine and work out what our goals are for the next 12 months. And I know that it's definitely been a massive contributor to our relationship and to be on the same page and make sure we're heading in the same direction.
Yeah, totally. I think it's not just about the goal, but it's about the conversations that you need to have to create the clarity to even set that goal, let alone get on the same page and the same team to get after it.
Yeah, it is. So, number 2, the importance of interdependent relationships. So that is having my life, their life, and our life, and having those as three separate things.
Yeah, quite a few guests have talked about this, but I think the person who described it best was Miranda Claire, and she talked about this idea that Nath has a flashlight pointing out in front of him, I have a flashlight pointing out in front of me, and it's really important that, yes, they overlap in the middle, but not totally connected into one spotlight.
Yeah,
There's still Nate's light and my light, and those represent our own individual lives. And that if, God forbid, the worst was to happen and we were to either separate or one of us was to die, touch wood, touch everything, that the other person would still have a very fulfilled and meaningful life, even if they would be sad with the absence of that other person. Yeah. But that real importance of keeping those three plates spinning that you've got. That I've got Sammy's life full of my hobbies and interests and friends.
I've got Nathan's life full of my hobbies and friends and work and everything that's associated with that.
And then we have a life together that we share.
Yeah. And we bring things to that shared life from our individual lives.
Yeah. That we've got built this beautiful little campfire and then we both respectively go off.
Forage for some sticks.
And come back to the campfire and share stories.
Yeah. Forage for some fuel.
And that it wouldn't be very fulfilling if neither of us ever left the campfire and we both stayed there all the time and never had any fuel to add to the fire.
That's it. So number 3, this one's probably the most talked about topic throughout all of our episodes that we've ever done, and that is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
So if you aren't familiar, Gary Chapman identified that there were 5 different love languages in the way that we either prefer to give love or receive love. And they're not necessarily always the same. So the way that you like to give love may not be the same way that you like to receive love. But so those 5 are acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and physical touch. So I think the big learning here is that it's really important to not just know conceptually your partner's love language, but to really invest in mastering that love language. So as an example from our relationship, Nate's primary love language is physical touch, and the absence of me physically touching Nate doesn't create a neutral impact. It's actually negative. So one of the most impactful things you can do for your relationship is to really embed speaking your partner's love language every single day.
Yeah. And I think it is important too to understand your own ways in which you naturally give love as well, because quite often it may not be natural to give love in the way that your partner likes to receive it. So it can be a little bit of a skill that you need to work on, but it's definitely one of the most important skills to keeping a relationship fueled up.
And if you are not sure, if one of those didn't particularly jump out, Gary Chapman does have a quiz. Just have a quick Google. You can find it. It's really easy. But get to know your love language and your partner's love language.
So number 4, your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship that you have. So this has definitely come up in lots and lots of different episodes where people have talked about their own personal journey, their own personal struggles, and how they've gone to overcome some of those struggles, but then how their own relationship with themselves has really then in turn affected their romantic relationship.
Yeah, and when we say relationship with self, we're not just talking about like, oh, you've taken yourself out on a coffee date recently. Like, oh, isn't that nice?
That is pretty delicious sometimes, but yeah.
And that's the date yourself part, right? On the Date Forever podcast, talking about dating yourself and your chosen person forever.
Yeah.
But part of that dating yourself is having a really healthy relationship with yourself. And sometimes that does mean leaning into the discomfort of the parts that you maybe don't love about yourself. And what are some of the habits and patterns and of behavior? What are some of your coping mechanisms? What are some of the traits that you've picked up maybe from family or from friends or your early formative years that aren't resourceful and they're not helping you? So something that's come up a lot over our 100 episodes is that commitment to continuous improvement of self.
Yeah.
And just how much, if you're in a bad place or you're not in the best place, how much that impacts your romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And that it's very hard to have a quality romantic relationship if first that relationship with self is suffering.
Yeah. And one of the things too is that your relationship with yourself can't be outsourced to any other person. Your partner can't heal your relationship with yourself. Like, they might be a good sounding board to bounce things off of, but they really can't do that work for you. And that is one of the really key pieces that keeps coming up over and over again, is that you need to be committed to doing the work yourself, to healing your own relationship and to really love the person that you are.
Yeah, and to set up those healthy habits around your well-being and your mindset and your body, and to take care of yourself. Like, nobody wants another child. Like, they want a part. You want a partner. Well, maybe I know that I don't want a child. I want a husband.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? And I'm sure you want a wife.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah.
So then number 5, and this is the importance of date nights. And having a rhythm around date nights.
This one shouldn't come as a surprise. You're on the Date Forever podcast.
That's it.
We are always banging on about dates, quality time together.
Yeah.
Something that's been really interesting across all of the interviews that we've done with couples and experts is that this is one of the things that people know. They conceptually know that this is good for their relationship. Yet it's so easy to slip out of habit or routine, or to actually never even establish a routine around it.
Yeah. And I think that is really challenging for a lot of people, that if there is no routine and they don't realize or haven't ever established that kind of routine, maybe they've gone through the dating phase, the initial dating phase of their relationship, and then it's just slowly dwindled after that, how much that can affect a relationship when you aren't adding fuel back into your own romantic relationship and sharing those date nights.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that a rhythm that works for one couple may not work for another at all. And whether or not that's weekly, fortnightly, 3-weekly, monthly, whatever it is, it really does need to be a priority. And I know that something that we've heard a lot, particularly from our guests with kids, is that it can be hard. It can be really challenging logistically to make that happen. But those date nights are like oxygen.
Yeah.
And if your relationship is a fire and it runs out of oxygen, the fire will stop burning.
Yeah, it will. I think a big thing to note here too, though, is that dates don't need to be super over the top and extravagant and expensive and all those sorts of things. It can be just as simple as going to a cafe, having a coffee, or sharing a cup of tea at home together.
Yeah, the ingredient here that seems to be the common denominator is that it needs to have intention.
It does, yeah.
It needs to go in the diary. It needs to be an extended invitation to the other person. I want to take you on a date, or I want to organize a date, or this is what I've planned for us.
Yeah. Or there is a clear understanding of Saturday mornings from 10 till 12 is a date window. Date window. Yeah.
Yeah. I like what you said, though. So much of this past year we spent at home in government mandated lockdowns. Like, dating doesn't have to be outside of the home. No. But it's about creating experiences together.
Yeah. And setting that intention.
Yeah. Number 6, the Fuel Collective fuel tanks. So if you've listened to the show before, you will have heard us talk about this concept of the 8 different fuel tanks. So your relationship with yourself, your romantic relationship, your humming household, your relationship and network, your career and business, your wealth and lifestyle, your future, and the world. So that's the 8.
Well done, babe.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does.
So, and what has become apparent is that of all of these different 8, everybody's got them.
Yep.
Everybody has them, these 8 different fuel tanks. And it's really unlikely that you're going to be an expert at all of them.
Yeah.
A common theme or a common thread has been that if you are struggling with one of these 8 areas of your life or your relationship, get help.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's with wealth and lifestyle. If you're not great with numbers and you're not great at forecasting your wealth, go and see a financial planner or go and see a wealth expert. If you're really struggling with home organization or shopping and setting up systems in the home, get in an expert to help you set it up.
It could be as simple as getting a cleaner once a week just to help with getting your household really humming, or doing something like a meal delivery kit service to try and reduce down some of the burden of going to the shops and shopping weekly. Yeah, there is so many aspects of our lives that there are experts out there for and that we're not necessarily experts in. So just reaching out to some of those resources and giving yourself the grace that you're not the expert and that somebody else might be able to do it better, quicker, easier, and you're freeing up your own time and
it probably
wins.
And that it will probably save you money in the long run.
That's it.
Yeah, and it will probably minimize conflict. Almost definitely minimize conflict in that area of your relationship. Number 7, not all relationships are the same.
It sounds pretty obvious on face value, but that's one of the key things that's definitely come out of the podcast.
Something that we say often is how your life feels is far more important than how it looks.
Yeah.
We live in this social media era of life, and it can be so great for so many things. But what it does mean is that people can present just the perfect icing on top part of their lives. And we might have a perception that everyone else's relationship looks, feels, and functions a certain way. But as we've looked under the covers of, I think, probably 50 or more couples now, there have been things that work incredibly well for some couples, and that exact same thing does not work for the other couple at all.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And sometimes it is almost week to week from a podcast episode perspective that 1 week, one couple will give certain advice, and then the next week, a different couple will give the complete opposite advice. So one example of this was when we were talking about divorce, and one couple said, divorce is never on the table. It's never an option. It's not even in our vocabulary.
We just have to figure it out.
We have to figure it out. We're 100% committed to each other. Divorce is just not on the table. Whereas next week, there would be a couple that came on and said, divorce is always an option. We want to choose each other. And so that choice is really what keeps us together, because if we no longer are serving each other, we're no longer adding value to each other, then absolutely divorce is an option. And so it really is interesting just to see, even with something like that, which is almost a wording thing, that there are polar opposite opinions. And I can see absolutely how that works for both couples, but it's really interesting to see what works and what doesn't for some couples.
Number 8, your attitude and mindset matters. We've had so many couples and experts who have told stories about how their perspective or how their point of view or their attitude or their mindset shifted on something, and it totally revolutionized their relationship. To expand on that, part of that idea of your attitude and your mindset is about acknowledging that your point of view or the way that you see things and the way that you experience things might be completely different than your partner. And you may have a conversation or a conflict or even just a shared experience that you've both seen completely different. And your attitude and the way that you're approaching that relationship can dictate the way that you feel about it. So if you're looking for all of the wonderful, great, exciting, beautiful things about your partner, that's what you'll see.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're looking for, they're always grumpy, they're always this, always that, negative, if you are looking for those things and that's your attitude and your mindset towards your relationship, you'll get more of it.
Yeah, your mind will see the things that will add fuel to your story about your partner.
And a big part of that is remembering that you actually get to decide on your attitude and you actually get to decide on your mindset. And you do have the ability to change it or redirect it or tweak it and start to consciously train it to look for the great things.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool thing that it's something so simple for you to be able to change, and it can make such a big difference in your relationship. So number 9, get help. Call in an expert. It's been so amazing to talk to so many couples who have hit a little rocky patch. The asteroid is hit. They've gone through a few trials and tribulations in their relationship or in their own life, which has affected their relationship. And then they've realized that they don't have all the tools and tricks and everything to be able to solve some of the problems in their relationship. And so they've called in external help, and it's made a massive world of difference for their relationship, and they've come out even stronger.
Yeah, so many of the couples that we've spoken to have been incredibly open and vulnerable with us. And a big part of starting the show and the Date Forever podcast and talking about quality relationships and what do they sound like, what do they look like, and how can we create them, has been sort of destigmatizing that getting any kind of relationship counseling, relationship therapy, relationship help is not a bad thing. It's actually an amazing thing and not something to be embarrassed about or to be shameful in any way. If anything, it's just like, hey, we really care about this.
Yeah,
we
we do.
really care about our relationship, and we want it to be the best that it possibly can be. We've run out of tools and resources, and if we could solve this problem together, we would have by now.
Yeah.
So let's get help.
Yeah.
And so many couples have talked about how impactful investing in that has been, not just for the time that they were going through that turbulence, but the return on investment that they continue to reap even years and years after going through that therapy or going through those sessions.
Yeah. And that leads us straight into number 10, which is exactly that concept. And that is better relationships equal a better world. And just like we were mentioning before, as people have improved their relationships, they've got help, they've done the work, they've found their person, they've reinvested in their person, they've been dating their person, their relationship has gone from strength to strength. And in turn, they've had so much more time, energy, and fuel to be able to put that back out into the world and solve some of the bigger problems that are out there.
It's been amazing to hear some of the stories from previous guests around how much uncertainty and instability and world chaos they've been able to kind of tolerate or even thrive through because of the dependability of their romantic relationship and that real sense of I've got their back and they've got my back, and from there together we can be awesome and create this incredible life together, but I can be awesome and create an incredible life for myself.
Yeah. The solid foundation is the relationship, and then regardless of what turbulence is going on around that, they're able to still thrive.
Yeah, and some of the couples that we've spoken to who have gone on to create some incredible things together, whether or not it's been businesses or charities or projects, and it's really helped solidify my belief that when we have better relationships, we can all contribute to creating a better world.
Yeah.
When your romantic relationship is in pain, it's incredibly hard to show up in all of the other areas of your life as that best version and reach all of your full potential on goals and visions for what it is that you want to achieve.
Yeah. And really, when any one of those fuel tanks that we talked about earlier, when any one of those is running low or on empty, all of your time and energy gets spent trying to just fix that one area of life or trying to pull it away from empty. And if we can just all spend a bit more time refueling some of those tanks and creating a better relationship, then in turn, we're going to create a better world.
So those have been our 10 big lessons or 10 big ideas.
10 big takeaways from 100 episodes.
Yeah. We would love to hear from you if you're a new listener OG listener, please reach out and let us know what you love about the show. If there's an episode you would love us to dig into, a topic you'd like us to tackle, we always want to hear from you. You can slide into our DMs on the gram, fuel.collective, or hit us up on email, sammi@fuelcollective.com.au or nathan@fuelcollective.com.au. Or if you want to pitch us and you want to come on the show, reach out to podcast@fuelcollective.com.au.
Yeah, tell us about your big takeaways
We always love to see where you're listening from, tag, share, all of the things. This show has been the highlight of the last 2 years.
Yeah, it has been. It's been amazing.
So we can't thank you enough for joining us and being with us. And to celebrate episode 100 of the Date Forever podcast, we have given 100 days of quality education to children all over the globe. We have been able to make this possible via our partnership with Buy One, Give One, and access to education is one of the most important things, and it's actually something that at Fuel Collective we give 20% of our profits.
Yeah, we do.
You might not even know that to education projects around the world. So we are incredibly passionate about ensuring that those who want and deserve an education can get it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening and making that possible.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.